Hey, what's going on, guys? So in Genesis chapter 1, we have the creation accounts written by the hand of Moses. In Genesis 1, verse 1, it says, "In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth." And then in Genesis chapter 1 and verse 3, it says, "God said, 'Let there be light,' and there was light." Now, Genesis 1 3 pertaining to light is the first time that we have recorded in our scriptures that God speaks. And that's also the first thing that God does pertaining to his creation. Now, why are we talking about this? The reason we are talking about this, my friends, is because the order which we have the Genesis creation account matches perfectly with what we understand about the physical universe. God has given us this creation, firstly, to have that dominion over it, also to enjoy it, but also for us to study it, to see it, and allow it to declare unto us the glory of God. Psalm 19 talks about how the heavens declare the glory of God. Now, when you talk about light, light is something that is on the surface seems very simple. You turn on a light in a room and you see the objects clear. The room seems to come alive a little bit more. But the way that we're designed, there is actually a lot of things happening in our brain and in our eyes when we turn on a light. But God has designed our body in such a way that it happens so quickly. I think it's less than like a billionth of a second, or even multi-billions of 1 second, where that light comes on and all these things activate. And then you see the room and you see the different colors in the room and you see clearly the objects in the room. Light is so complex, but light is absolutely foundational to everything that we see, and even the things that we can't see, even things such as atoms, neutrons, protons, electrons. Light affects it all. And light, there was a debate, and I think some scientists actually might still hold to this, but the debate was, is light a particle or is light a wave? If it was a particle, there's a chance that light would have mass, albeit a very, very small amount of mass. But if it's a wave, it has no mass. And in the 1900s, there were tests conducted that proved that light has no mass. Light is energy, and light is composed of these things called photons, which are massless. They don't have mass, but they behave in these just amazing sort of ways. If photons are observed, they actually behave differently. Now, why am I talking about all this? How does this connect us back to what we talked about in Genesis chapter 1? Well, when you consider light, light travels 185,000 miles per second, the speed of light. When you consider light, every single thing in this world needs or has light. Everything. If we want to see where we are going, we have to have light. If we did not have the sunlight, friends, animals would die. Farmers who harvest crops, all their crops would die without sunlight, and eventually we would die without light. Light is so fundamental to existence, and it is so, it just proves the deity of God, the omniscience of God, that he inspired Moses in Genesis chapter 1. Moses was not a physicist. I believe Moses was an educated man. Acts chapter 7, Stephen says he was educated in the the ways of the Egyptians. So I don't believe Moses was just a man who didn't have education. I believe he was educated, but Moses was not a physicist, okay? But God still inspired the hand of Moses to begin the creation account with God saying, "Let there be light." It wasn't a mistake. It wasn't a coincidence. It was put there on purpose because God is the one who made the light. God is the one who made the earth. Okay? We can go on other different things, such as how light behaves, and then you look at the way that the scriptures talk about light. Friends, even when light, for example, in Ephesians chapter 5, where Paul is comparing the sons of light to the sons of darkness, even when scripture is not attempting to say anything about physics or being accurate physics-wise, when it mentions light in a metaphorical sense, it is also correct from a physics sense. And that's just kind of like a sidebar. When Jesus says that he is the light of the world, that is so powerful and prevalent because light brings life. There's no light, there's no life. When Jesus says that Christians are the light of the world, a city set on a hill, you get a picture of a very dark planet, a very dark world, and you have these disciples of Christ who light up the world and bring light. And then when other people obey the gospel, then that light shines brighter, and we continue proclaiming the excellencies of God, then the light shines brighter and brighter. We could just go on and on and on. Just to wrap this up, our God is an awesome God. He reigns in heaven above with wisdom, power, and love. Thank you guys for listening. I'm out. Peace.